as a 28-year-old, how did you capture that vibe on camera and through your writing?
You mean the idea of being in your like mid to late 20s?
Yeah, you captured that vibe a little too perfectly. So I'm like super curious how you did it.
Well, we made the movie with all friends, so it was
Mm.
a very last minute effort. Like my friend and I both found ourselves a window of time where we could make something, and so we
Mm.
just set out to do it. And literally in 48 hours, we were in prep. So I think that's probably part of it because it was just super low budget, run and gun on the fly with all of our friends. And so there was not a ton of stakes when making it. This, it was all about having a fun time and enjoying each other's company and getting to grow together and experience new things and take risks and experiment. So that was really the goal of the movie, was to just become closer with one another, and not, it wasn't about like what festival we got into, or if we were going to sell the movie, what distributor, any of that. So hopefully that's what you were seeing on screen, was just us trying to learn and grow and have fun.
You said you went and you did a run and gun style for this film. So did you have the script written out, or did you just kind of like figure it out as you were going?
No, I had the script for a while.
Mhm.
It was something I was actually going to make it a slightly larger budget for a while. And then I had gotten this movie called Turtles All the Way Down, which is with Fox. It was a John Green movie. So I was super excited. And I put Mark Mary on the back burner because I went into prep on Turtles. And then the Disney merger happened with Fox, and the movie got put on hold. And so I waited around for a couple months in the hopes that everything would come back together. And when it didn't, I was really depressed and felt like I shouldn't just wait around. I wanted to grow and sharpen my skills and make myself better for when that movie came around. So that was when, our friends all got together and made this. We did it in the window between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that was really what it came out of, is just like not wanting to sit still.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I mean, no
So
one
I
just
had the
sits.
script, but it was, once we got on set, the script was fully written out.
Yeah.
But once we got on set, we kind of threw it all away and, did it pretty much all improv, which
Whoa.
was so fun. And that was one of my goals too, is to do an all improv movie. So we had a great time doing that.
How did your script change from doing what you had written versus what you improved?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to the people we cast, because I really wanted them to just have their own personalities, not necessarily the personalities that were on the page, because I wanted to just cast people that I thought were really specific and unique and funny, and that could bring something to it that would be, not something I could think of on my own. So a good example of that would be Odessa Adlon, or now
Mm.
Odessa Zion. She is such a little weirdo firecracker. And so everything she's doing is not something that was ever on the page. I mean, she's just so she's just so funny, and she's like such a little rock star. I think the girls in the band made the band really good, which I wasn't
Mm.
expecting. Like, they were
Yeah, they
supposed
were
to be,
so good.
yeah, they were supposed to be kind of just shitty. And so that was one of the bigger changes, is like they all killed it. So, I mean, it helps, like Courtney Love and Patrick Stump wrote the songs for the band, so
Mhm.
that helps. But the girls really brought it to life. I was so proud of and impressed.
While I was watching the movie, I saw that you did a lot of very cool stuff visually. Like for example, like when they did drugs in the honeymoon scene, I thought that was like so cool, the way you kind of like captured the feeling of being on mushrooms almost. And and then there was other moments where I thought motif wise, I'm not sure if this is something you planned with your DP or something that you had already planned in your pre-stage, pre-production stage, but in the opening of the movie, I felt like you kept Mark and Mary in the frame together as much as possible, and then towards the end, I noticed that there were a lot of scenes where they're just never in frame together anymore, even though they're in the same room. I was wondering if you can talk about some of those decisions you made in visually showing the growth of the relationship.
Yeah, that was definitely intentional and planned for. However, I'll probably some of what you're feeling was the lack of having time to do a wide shot. As you're probably familiar with being a filmmaker yourself, when you're making, a movie in 15 days or whatever, and you don't have money, it's like sometimes some of your shots get scrapped. So while it was intentional, it also probably was budgetary.
Is there any scene in this movie that you had the most fun shooting?
Oh gosh, probably the scenes at Odessa's apartment, Lana's, just because I had so much fun with Joe Latruglio that day, and we had so much fun shooting the band scenes. And then there's also the threesome scene, like the pre-threesome and the threesome. So that was one of my favorite days for sure. And also we had so much fun because the Lana's apartment location and the Mark and Mary apartment location were all in one place. So we were there for, 10 or 12 days. And that is always really fun to me because you get to really just focus on the acting and the characters instead of worrying about doing company moves and all of that.
Yeah. Was there any point in the film where you felt especially challenged in directing the actors? And I'm curious to know how you solved those problems.
Probably like the Auntie Carol scene, when they go meet her in the middle of the movie. That was a hard one because it was in the script, and then once I knew we didn't have very many shoot days, so I had to cut it. And so then the movie existed without that sequence. And then Haley Law, our actress playing Mary, had her wisdom tooth got infected, and we shut down production because she was in so much pain. Her face was swelling. It was just, it was awful. I felt so bad for her. So we shut down production and we came back for an extra week. And so because I had that extra week to make up the scenes with Haley, I added back in the Auntie Carol scene. But it didn't have a spot anymore because the script got reconstructed without it. So for me, that was the hardest one to direct because I wasn't sure what part of the movie it would be in. Because it was originally intended to be one of the final scenes of the movie, and then it just got completely reshaped and plopped in the middle. So that was tough because you obviously want to have a ton of confidence when directing your actors and know exactly where the scene's going to be and how it should evolve. And instead, it was more of like just an exploratory experience, which is great, but it was a challenge. I was glad that it ended up where it did too, because it was in the big hookup montage. I wanted something to kind of break up all the hooking up. So it ended up getting spliced throughout that sequence, which I think made maybe that sequence more interesting. So it wasn't just like make out after make out after make out, even though that was the point, but it was nice to kind of have something to come back and forth with, as well as the sex toy scene where they're shopping for sex toys. So that was fun to just help mix it up.
Are there any scenes in the movie that you added as you were filming that you feel amplified the movie? And are there any scenes that you shot that didn't make it into the movie, and for what reason did you cut them?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I would say there's not really scenes that are in the movie that we didn't plan for because there wasn't time to be adding scenes. We had to be cutting scenes, so that wasn't really the case. There's definitely moments that got added throughout, especially with all the improv, but there is one really long scene that got cut, which was them Mark and Mary fighting, and after the Halloween party, after he hooks up with Bunny, they have a big fight, and it's like a 5-minute take, which is a oneer of them arguing, going all through their apartment. And the camera worked and the performances worked, but at that point I already knew how many fights were coming in the movie, that I just felt like once seeing it assembled, I didn't want to see one more fight. So I thought it was more interesting if they both silently had their moments to process what happened at the party, with Mary in the maid's van and Mark, getting stoned and eating too much. And then they came back together. I thought just felt better because I already knew how much I was going to traumatize them later.
You as a filmmaker, when you were making this movie, is there anything that you learned as an artist that you feel like you'll bring to other movies that you make?
Yes, I learned how powerful it is when your actors trust you as a director. They showed me such immense trust and support and love that it made it so much easier for me to do my job. So if anything, I learned more as an actor than I did as a director, because I realized I'm never gonna be mistrusting of a director again. I've done that in the past where, you know, I've doubted the choices that were being made because I'm a bit of a control freak. That's why I'm a filmmaker now. But I will never do that to another director again. Not that I've ever been a diva or difficult or anything, but I've definitely had my doubts in terms of the direction of the way a movie is going when I'm acting in it. And I will now, anytime I act in something, enter blindly and accept what the situation is, because that's just so important for making the movie better and nicer experience.